Hey book nerds, it's Kirsten and welcome back to my channel. Today I am bringing you my August book haul, which is a little bit late. Okay, so I bought two big book hauls in the month of August. The first is my book outlet haul. There was a handful of books on there that I really needed to buy like as soon as possible, and then a couple that I found on there for a great deal that looked really interesting just so that I could meet my $45 shipping minimum. And then I also ordered a box of books from Chapters Indigo. I'm sure most people know, but for those of you who don't, Chapters is our large franchise bookstore here in Canada. It would be our version of like Barnes & Noble or Waterstones. So let's just get straight to the books. The first books that I have to show you guys that I got in the month of August were my physical arcs of Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor and Dear Evan Hansen, the novelization of the musical. These two were sent to me by the publisher. I've already posted a video from unpackaging these, so if you're interested, I will have that linked down below. First, let's go through the Chapters books. The deal that was going on at Chapters was buy one, get one half off, and this included books that were already on sale, so I already would have been getting a good deal buying these books through Chapters, but then they were having this wonderful sale and I just couldn't help myself. The pile that I got from Chapters is this. The first book that I ordered from Chapters was Lifelike by Jay Kristoff. Now, I'm not actually very positive about what this book is about. Mostly, I bought it because I will buy and read anything that Jay Kristoff writes. He is by far one of my favorite authors. But I know that this book is being pitched as sort of a fantasy, sci-fi dystopian, and I love Jay Kristoff's world building, and so I'm just so excited to give this a go. I heard it being described as similar to Mad Max Fury Road, which I absolutely adored, and I know that we follow a female protagonist, and honestly, Jay Kristoff writes the absolute best female protagonists. They're always these dark, twisty, sort of unreliable, but absolutely amazing female characters, and so I'm very excited to pick this up, and I probably will very, very soon. Next I bought from Chapters was The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I have already read this and absolutely loved it. I have a review up on my Bookstagram account. I won't say too much about it because I'm sure everybody knows what this book is about, but it is another Holly Black fairy story that was just absolutely amazing. It is filled with really dark, twisty characters, and I honestly had no idea where the plot was going. It really took me by surprise how much I loved this book. I cannot wait for the sequel, The Wicked King, that is coming out in January of 2019. Next, I ordered this paperback copy of Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. I also read this book and absolutely loved it. I talk about it in the previous month's wrap-up video, but in short, we follow Ari and Dante, these two characters, as they sort of come to terms with growing up and with life and with their own sexuality and just the fluidity that all of those things kind of involve. So I already read and absolutely loved this book and just wanted to have a physical copy on my shelves because it's definitely one that I could see myself rereading on a rainy day when I want to experience these characters who I already really adore. Next in my Chapters pile is Consequences by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This book includes Opal and Origin, which are the third and fourth books in the Lux series. I have already read and really enjoyed this entire series. I know why a lot of people say that they are not ginormous fans. However, I think it's just a really fun sort of guilty pleasure read, and I really wanted the entire series in these paperback editions because the fifth book has a matching cover, and so I wanted them all to match on my shelves. Okay, the next book that I purchased was actually a pre-order, and it is the paperback edition of They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. They Both Die at the End was a 5-star read. It was devastating and beautiful, and honestly, everything that I had been hearing that it would be. I was nervous to pick it up because of the hype, but then I absolutely loved it. It was the first book that I read from Adam Silvera, and it really, really hit me hard. I gave it 5 stars. There is nothing about the story that I would change. In the book, we follow our two main characters, Mateo and Rufus, as they find out that they have 24 hours to live. This was such a cool concept. I was instantly intrigued when I read the synopsis and I first started hearing about the book because I loved this idea that you find out the day that you're going to die, that you will die, and then you have this last day on Earth to kind of live it however you would like. Rufus and Mateo were two very different characters who didn't know each other beforehand but came together on their mutual last day, and their friendship was absolutely beautiful. It was just stunning and amazing, and I loved it. And while we only followed them for the span of one single day, it felt like one of the most developed romances that I have read in a contemporary for a very long time. So I am really excited for that paperback edition to come. I wanted the paperback edition because I liked the paperback copies of Adam Silvera's other books, and so I wanted them all to match, which leads me to the next book that I ordered from Chapters in the month of August, and that was More Happy Than Not by Adam Silvera. I have yet to read this book. I took it out from the library and ended up not getting to it in time and having to return it. So I am very excited to have this copy in my hands because I want to catch up on all of Adam Silvera's books. Like I said, They Both Die at the End was my first of his stories, but I fell in love with his writing, and I'm really excited for the book that he has coming out, What If It's Us, with Becky Albertalli, who I also adore. So I want to catch up on Adam's books, hopefully this month, so that I can pick up What If It's Us, having already been caught up on both of the author's entire collections. In More Happy Than Not, we follow Aaron, our protagonist. I know that the book starts off with some sort of huge family tragedy that leaves him really reeling, and this book really centers around him trying to work his way back to happiness. I know that this book really confronts race and sexuality and social class, and so I am really excited to catch up on Adam Silvera's works. And then the last two books that I ordered from Chapters this month were Gemina and Obsidio by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. Now, last year, I read Illuminate and Gemina, and they were two of my absolute favorite reads of the year. This is an absolutely incredible series, and Obsidio was my most highly anticipated release of 2018. I could not wait for this book to come out because I ended up absolutely adoring the first and second books of the series. They are the ones that got me hooked on Jay Kristoff and Becky Albertalli as writers. I already own the hardback edition of Illuminate, and then I read Gemina as a library book, and then I got the audiobook from Audible, and I followed along. They're kind of heavy, so I'm going to set them down while I talk about them. The Illuminate Files series is incredibly unique because the physical copies are absolutely gorgeous. They are told in a sort of multimedia format. So there are drawings, and there are ship logs, and there are emails and text messages, but it's this incredible story that is set in space, and it is, you know, part adventure, part romance, part like fighting against a corrupt government or a corrupt like power that's in charge. I absolutely love all of our characters. We have the most amazing strong female leads, and they all have these sort of amazing, complex but supportive romantic relationships or romantic interests. I loved this series so incredibly much, and I could not wait to pick up Obsidio when it came out in March. However, for some reason, I just still haven't picked it up, and I think it's mostly just that I am afraid to be done the series because I know it's the finale, and I've heard absolutely amazing things. I'm not afraid that it won't live up to the expectations that I have. I'm mostly just really sad that the series is going to be done, and I don't want to be out of new content for the series, and so I still haven't picked it up. I don't know why I'm like this. Is anybody else like this? Like, do any of you guys do this? You should let me know down below if any of you just refuse to pick up the final book in a series because you're terrified of it being over, because I haven't done this, I don't think, since like Harry Potter. I picked up the final Harry Potter book right away, but then I like stalled out like 2 chapters away from the ending because I knew that that was going to be the end of the Harry Potter content, and I was really upset. So I'm doing the exact same thing with Obsidio, and I have no idea why. I want to read it. I cannot wait to read it. I'm so excited for the conclusion of this series that I absolutely adored. I still haven't picked it up, but now that I have the physical copy, maybe I will, because I also have the audiobook, and I really like experiencing the audiobook and the physical book of this series at the same time. The audiobook has a full cast and all of these sound effects, and it really adds to the story, being able to hear like the ship sounds and the different voices for the different characters, and like sort of like, you know, gun sounds and everything like that. It feels like you're living in the book, that you are actually experiencing everything that the characters are experiencing. So I will probably pick that up this month. Those are all the books that I purchased from Chapters this month. Next, I have a stack of books from Book Outlet. I read The Hazelwood back in April and absolutely loved it. It was this amazing sort of twisty modern fairy tale. We followed our main character Alice. Her and her mother, who have always moved around quite a bit all throughout her life, have always had really bad luck. And that is really challenged when her grandmother dies alone on her estate. I'm not sure if this is going to be a series or a duology, however, this was the first book and it was a wonderful introduction that I absolutely loved. I really liked the sort of dark fairy tale realm that it was set in, and I didn't know which way it was kind of going and who was going to be who, and I was very taken surprised by the plot twists, by the plot itself. And so I would highly suggest this to anybody who really likes that sort of dark twisty fantasy universe sort of thing. The second book that I picked up from Book Outlet was Thunderhead by Neil Shusterman. This is another one that I had listed on my wish list. I read this book as an ARC at the end of last year and I ended up really enjoying it. It was a wonderful sequel. And I knew when I read it that I was going to want the physical copy, and so when it popped up on Book Outlet, I knew I needed to pick it up. So as Thunderhead is a sequel, I'm not going to say too much about the plot in this book. Inside, we follow two main characters in this sort of dystopian universe where humanity has sort of conquered death. There's no such thing anymore as sickness or hunger, and the only way that people die is being killed by these other people named Sides. Our main two protagonists are both recruited to become Sides, and it just sort of follows their adventure after that. Thunderhead was the sequel and it was absolutely amazing. Sort of sticking with this fairy tale theme that I have been really enjoying with Holly Black's books and The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert, I ended up picking up this copy of The Starlight Wood, which is an anthology of adult sort of dark fairy tales. I don't really know a whole lot about it, except one of the stories is by Seanan McGuire, who wrote the Truth Witch, Wind Witch, Blood Witch series that I absolutely adored. Some of the other authors included in this anthology are Jeffrey Ford, Naomi Novik, Aliette de Boddard, Marjorie Liu, Garth Nix, Catherine M. Vellante, and then it just says, and more. So I haven't really heard anything about this book. I don't know anybody who's read it, but I'm really enjoying these sort of twisted fairy tale retellings and thought I would definitely like to pick this up. The next book that I picked up from Book Outlet was A Quiet Kind of Thunder by Sarah Barnard. My initial interest in this book was simply based on the fact that I knew that we followed a selective mute character, which I think is highly interesting. It's something that is not very often represented in YA contemporary books, and so I definitely wanted to pick it up only based on that. But after looking a little bit more into it, I know that we follow a selective mute character and a deaf character, and just like their relationship that develops from there. Rice, or Riss, is a new character in school and he is deaf, and because of Steffi, our selective mute character's knowledge with ASL, she is sort of assigned to get him settled and to help him out with his transition into the new school. I'm very interested in reading a book from both of these perspectives of diverse representation. I don't think that we get enough of either of them in YA contemporary books, and so I'm very excited to pick this book up in the near future. The next book I picked up was another book that I had never heard of before, but I saw on the website and I was instantly very interested in it, and it is Me, My Hair and I, 27 Women Untangle an Obsession. So this book sort of really centers around how a woman's hair can be very much tied to her sense of self, her identity, her connection to her culture, and this just follows a bunch of different women within a bunch of different cultures and the way that hair is important to them. The next book that I picked up was We Are All Made of Molecules by Susan Nielsen. I picked this one up because I feel like it is another one of those books within the Bookstagram, BookTube, book reading community that is very talked about and very well loved. I've seen so many people talk about how much they enjoyed this story. All I really know is that we follow two characters again. Stuart, who is sort of the school nerd, he's not popular, he has great grades, and our popular girl Ashley, whose grades aren't good but she has lots of friends and sort of like runs the school social scene. This book centers around these two characters and their parents moving in together and sort of why that happened and the threat of everybody at the school finding out why it has to happen, and then these two characters sort of getting to know each other even though otherwise they probably never would have, because they completely exist in different social circles and probably never would have come in contact otherwise. I am fairly interested in picking this up. It is just a short read. It should go by pretty quickly, but I do kind of want to experience why so many people have been talking about this book. Okay, the next book was definitely something I was interested in based on the cover, because the cover is absolutely gorgeous, but then I looked into the synopsis and it sounded very interesting, and that book is Only the Animals, stories told by Ceridwen Covey? Ceridwen Dovey. This book is a series of short stories that are told from animals' perspectives. The 10 stories are told by the souls of animals who have died based on human conflicts. One of the stories, when I looked into the synopsis, was a cat that died in a gutter during World War I. So this book, I think, is really going to question what it means to be human and the difference between humanity and monsters, and so I am very interested to pick it up. The next book that I picked up was another anthology, and it is a collection of short stories based around werewolves and shapeshifters, encounters with the beast within. It was edited by John Skip, and it includes authors such as Neil Gaiman, George R.R. Martin, Charlene Harris, Angela Carter, Chuck Palahniuk, and so many more. There's something like 35 authors in here. I think this one is fairly self-evident as to why I picked it up. I really do enjoy werewolf stories. One of my absolute favorite series, which is the Mercy Thompson series, really got me hooked on the different ways that werewolves can be portrayed, and so I think this is going to be very interesting. It is very well-known popular authors, and I'm going to, I think, really enjoy seeing the different ways that werewolves are portrayed in so many different stories. It is a very large book. I think that I will probably end up reading this one like one story at a time in between other books, so it will take me a long time to get through. However, I'm really expecting to enjoy this one quite a bit. And then the last book that I have to show you guys today is the last book that I ordered from Book Outlet, and that is And I Darken by Kiersten White. Now, I was not initially interested in this book. All I know about it is that it is a gender-bent Vlad the Impaler retelling. However, I did see the Booksplosion Book Club, which is this popular book club run by 3 incredibly famous booktubers, Kat from Catty-tastic, Christine from Poland and Books, and Jessie from Jessie the Reader, have been working their way through the series, and all 3 of them have had really amazing things to say, and I have picked up lots of books based on those 3 booktubers' recommendations, so I thought I would also give this one a try. The Conqueror saga centers around our main character named Lada, and all that I know is that she's a really ruthless female character, which I am fairly interested in, and her trying to survive with her younger brother. I will probably end up picking this up fairly soon because I want to know if I do enjoy it as much as so many other people have been. Okay, and these are all of the books that I got in the month of August. If you are interested in trying Book Outlet for the first time, I would have a $10 coupon code that is their Refer a Friend program linked down below. There are so many books in this pile that I am just so excited to read or to have on my shelves that I have already read and loved. If there are any on here that you have already read and you really enjoyed, then you should let me know in the comments down below. If you liked this video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you soon for a new video. Bye!